What is up, guys, and welcome back to another brand new episode of Career Mode. The championship right now is looking very, very close. Just 6 points separating myself from Lewis Hamilton at the top of the Drivers' Championship. Who is going to win this season? It's so close. There's so much going on in the development race right now. We've got a very consistent car. We've got, others that are faster than us, like HAAS, that are way down in the championship. Ferrari have made some upgrades this race, and they're pretty much nipping on my heels as well. So there's a lot still to play for in the remaining races of this championship, but this is shaping up to possibly be the best season of career mode ever if the championship can tighten up just that little bit more than what it is at the moment. But here we are for the Russian Grand Prix. Heading into this race, we had two upgrades go on the car. One was a major weight redistribution upgrade. The other was just a minor power upgrade for the engine. So heading into this race, we should have somewhat of a better package. So I'm looking forward to possibly a little bit more pace, and hopefully we have more of an answer to the likes of Williams, but especially HAAS, who continue to have a stranglehold over the field at the moment. Practice was okay. Practice one, I always do the kind of slower practice programs through that session. We never really show our pace. I always use my, most worn power units in that session. Then for, FP2, we tend to go for race pace, ERS management and qualifying pace. And we sometimes chuck in a newer power unit component or power unit components in this session. And as such, we shoot right to the top in P2. So yeah, a bit more of an indication as to what the pace is like. Sergio Perez right behind us there in P2. HAAS kind of sandbagging a little bit, of course, probably running their own program, continuing their development. They've been on a bit of a stagnant position within the development race. They haven't done an upgrade for many races now, and I'd imagine, given their form and just how serious they're taking this season, I would guess that there's probably a big upgrade on the way for those guys, given how much they've been holding back the last couple of races. However, it's time for qualifying now for the Russian Grand Prix. We're going to put some newer engine components in the car. Engine components are now not a worry for us, given that we took the grid penalty in Spa, I think. So now we're actually able to run in practice with some relatively newer components, and we don't have to stress so much. So heading into the rest of the season, I think we're pretty much sorted to have good pace throughout.
Welcome F1 fans, where qualifying will be starting in the next few minutes as the teams prepare to get out on track at the Sochi Autodrome here in Russia.
So, Russian Grand Prix, we're getting ready for qualifying now. I think in the past, this is actually a really good circuit for myself. Just the nature of the circuit kind of suits me. There's a lot of, I feel like braking is actually quite important around here. You need to be very technical with that. And there's a lot of, medium speed corners which require quite a bit of, it requires a certain style, like late apex, a bit of trail braking here and there, and I feel like that is somewhat my speciality. And so I feel like I just have a really good groove around here. I take a lot of the esports lines around, especially the third sector, making use of the full width of the circuit. We negotiate qualifying one. Ricardo actually gets the measure of us for once. So that's good to see that my teammate is somewhat back on form. Heading into qualifying two, we're actually set to get some rain. So keep an eye out for that. We lose a few drivers there, of course. No real surprises there, given who got knocked out. But here we are for the start of Q2. It's raining, but the engineer is suggesting dry tyres for the start of this session. But it's supposed to clear up towards the end. So in less than 15 minutes time, we'll be back to dry running again. So I decided to chance it, given that the track was already wet. And by the time we'd get out there to set a lap, I feel like we would have wasted a set of tyres. So what I'm opting to do is set a time right at the end of the session when the track is actually dry, and then we'll go from there. The delta at the moment, the inter is 2.5 seconds faster than the soft at the moment. However, we're flicking between the two intermediate tires because this gives us pretty much a dynamic delta as to which tire is faster, and that is a visual representation as to how the track improves and how you can tell which tire is the best one to be on. If only there was some kind of machine or something in real F1 that told us the predicted delta that was as accurate as that. Some teams might have that, I don't know, but I feel like we're kind of cheating by doing that. But yeah, we were able to figure out when the optimal time was to go out on circuit. Thankfully, it happened right as there was about 2 minutes to go in the session, so I switched back to dry tires, got on them again, and we were able to set the last time in Q2. So we got the best of the track conditions there. We see ourselves through to the next session, but unfortunately, Lucas Weber was a big victim of Q2. He didn't make it through to this session, and so he'll be starting from beyond the top 10 in the Russian Grand Prix. He might be a real weapon in the race, given that he can start on the mediums. But, you know, if ever there's a track where, you know, strategy doesn't really matter, it's this place, because the tire wear is so non-existent that I think Lucas might be struggling for, you know, strategy advantage anyway. So, yeah, if he's going to start last or towards the back anywhere, I'd prefer it to be this place, since he won't have much of an advantage tire-wise over us anyway. But here we are for qualifying 3. You can see we're in P2 at the moment, so a good effort in qualifying so far. Need to find another couple of tenths. I think I did like a 29.5 in Q1. So it's interesting that the times have somewhat got slower, but I'd imagine that the track is going to ramp up. You know, it was raining the best part of 10-15 minutes ago, just before Q2 ended. So I'd imagine that the track will continue to get faster and faster, but it looks pretty darn optimal at the moment. So we'll see what we can manage in this third part of qualifying. Leclerc shoots to P2. A lot of runners are setting their times now. Vettel now slots into P3, so we're getting edged back down the order. We're dropped to P5 as Hulkenberg goes on pole position. The Williams now cross the line as Sergio now gets provisional pole with a 29.1. So we need to find 6 tenths in order to get on pole position here for the Russian Grand Prix. I don't know if we've got that in us, but I feel like there is a little bit more time to be found in the third sector, so we'll see what we can manage. We're 3 tenths up now. Let's hope for another good couple of corners to finish off this lap. Again, another tenth found at the penultimate corner, and through to the last one we improve by the best part of 4 tenths there, and that sees us through to third place for the start of the Russian Grand Prix. Ricardo, what is that time? A 30.0. You were faster than that in Q1. Look at his sector times. He lost 7 tenths in the first sector on his best lap. Well, no, if you take all of his best sectors, he'll be 7 tenths faster than what he managed here, which is absolutely ridiculous. If he improved by 7 tenths, that would put him pretty much right alongside me on the second row of the grid. So I don't know what it is about Ricardo, man. Like, he gets himself in these absolutely terrible grid positions, can't overtake in the race, and I don't. Renault don't help either with their strategies. It's really annoying to see that I don't have a teammate that can back me up. Ricardo, his AI deserves better. I deserve better. But let's see what we can manage in the race. A lot's at stake.
Good afternoon from Sochi as we prepare to get underway for the Russian Grand Prix. The championship battle has some time to go yet, but still expect no quarter to be given here on this circuit that made its debut in 2014 and has already seen some classic racing. With the race minutes away from starting, here's what today's grid rundown looks like. It's Sergio Perez on pole position today, and Day completes the front row. Looking at the rest of today's grid, we have Raikkonen, Leclerc, Sebastian Vettel and Verstappen, Ricciardo, Hamilton, Bottas and Lando Norris, Butler, Hulkenberg, Lucas Weber and Giovinazzi, Magnussen, Sainz, Lance Stroll and Daniel Kvyat. Gasly, they'll be starting further back after an earlier grid penalty. And Alexander Albon picks up the last spot on the grid.
We need a good result today if we want to catch Hamilton in the Drivers' Championship.
Thank you, Jeff. Here we are for the Russian Grand Prix. Today could be a very big day for the championship. I think we will overtake Hamilton today, but it's a case of whether Leclerc will beat us to the line. He's 2 points behind us in the championship. So if we beat Leclerc, I feel like for the most part we will have the lead of the Drivers' Championship with less than 5 races remaining. 5 red lights, and away we go for the Russian Grand Prix. I think I missed the start ever so slightly, but I got the revs right. I just can't seem to nail the full start this season, but there we go. Leclerc is through to P3. unfortunately. Raikkonen got past us as well, which, yeah, we absolutely got left for dead off this start. But apart from that, we've managed to recover well, still in P4. Looks like we're going to clear those behind us, including Verstappen. Looks like Ricciardo is on the charge as well. Through the field, he gets past Sebastian Vettel, so that's good from Danny Rick. He needs to be ahead of both Vettel and Hamilton. Hamilton especially, to take points away from him in the driver's standings. So I'm counting on my teammate to lift and get his way back through the field, because I feel like he's got amazing pace. But settling into this race, after the qualifying results, I actually increased the difficulty to 109. We haven't run 109 ever before. We've run 110 before, and we've been absolutely trounced by the AI, but I'm feeling like 109 might be the perfect balance at this circuit, where I'm very, very strong anyway. Ricciardo putting the pressure on Valtteri Bottas, I think, in the Mercedes. We've got a slow car in the third sector. That is Danny Kvyat, who is now out of his home race. So unfortunately, he will not be winning this race. A bit of a spoiler as to what happened in my 10-season simulation. He managed to win a race, which is absolutely ridiculous. Unfortunately, that won't be happening for him today in this Russian Grand Prix. But back to our race. We seem to be a little bit lost in this first stint. Just losing touch with the leaders. Verstappen is very pacey as well. He attacks us into the middle sector. And with a diminishing amount of battery, a bit of fuel to save, I decided it was best to let him go. And we're going to follow him through as best we can and save a bit of fuel and battery that way. We're not really we're not struggling for fuel, but I've noticed that lately the car has been somewhat getting better at fuel consumption, which makes no sense. At the start of the season, I had to run like plus 1 or 2 laps to get to the end of the race, and now it's fine again. So I feel like it's a guessing game. I feel like maybe the patch as well has thrown the balance back into fuel conservation, which has been good for the car. That made no sense, but since the patch, I feel like fuel consumption has got better. That's what I'm trying to say. Lucas Weber has recovered amazingly from being outside the top 10 at the start of this race. He's now chasing me down for a top 5, which is crazy. So we'll be losing some points on him today. I wonder if he's going to recover to win this race. That'd be some feat, given that he's come from behind his teammate, Hulkenberg, who hasn't made as much ground as what Lucas has. Is absolutely ridiculous. Ricciardo holding down a spot inside the top 10 fairly well. So that's good to see. We're now boxing for the mediums to run to the end of this race. We're running quite deep into the pit lane, but otherwise we managed to get away with that. So no warning, no penalty, and yeah, we can get on with our race. Hulkenberg continues on for another lap, so he'll be trying to perfect the overcut, which may work as we rejoin in the fast lane. Got held a little bit, but otherwise it was a decent stop. Someone who lost out massively was Charles Leclerc, who was only a few seconds up the road from us. He had to wait for myself, for Verstappen, for Lucas Weber, and he lost the best part of, I'd say, 5 seconds. So I feel like he might be out of touch now with the Williams for the victory of this Russian Grand Prix. And I think he's actually gone on to hard compound tyres, which makes absolutely no sense, considering the mediums can go to the end quite easily from here. But Ricciardo is in for his stop, and again, he's been given absolutely horrible treatment in the pit lane. Look at how much positions he's losing. We cut away from that, and he was still in his box, which is absolutely ridiculous. He lost like 4 or 5 positions, and probably just as many seconds in the pit lane. So I'd be willing to bet that he is now outside the top 10 after that disaster of a pit stop. Absolutely no words for the strategy. I feel like maybe Ricciardo should have came in the lap before I did, because my tyres were actually struggling a little bit on the softs to get to the end. And I've noticed the tyre wear so far on the mediums has been somewhat non-existent. So we may not burn these mediums out too much at all as we go around the outside of Verstappen, and we now see ourselves back up into P7. So since switching to the medium tyres, I feel like my pace has come alive again. For whatever reason, the car wasn't responding too well to the softs, at least relative to those around me. But I put on these new tyres, and I feel like I've got a new lease of life. I've got amazing pace now relative to those guys around me. This is Lucas Weber. now attacking Max Verstappen. He gets through, and now I'll be the next on his hit list. But I've got Charles Leclerc in my crosshairs as well. He's on the hard compound tyres, which again makes no sense to me. We're going to easily take these mediums to the end. I don't know why he's opted for hards. There's going to be no pace advantage. He's not going to be faster at the end of the race because the mediums are still going to have amazing tyre life at the end, which makes no sense. Maybe Ferrari don't have any tyre wear upgrades applied to their car, which might be the only explanation I can give as to why he's on this strategy. But here we go, around the outside into turn 3. Let's see if we can make this stick. It'll turn to the inside for the next right-hander. Charles locks up the inside front, and we should see ourselves onto the podium after this corner if we can get the move done. Leclerc still hanging it in there quite nicely on his hard compound tyres. I'm leaving him lots of space, a lot of respect being shown between the two of us. And there we go, we are finally through and onto the podium for this Russian Grand Prix. So there we go, finally got it done. I can't believe how respectful we both were. There's so much space between us. It's almost like we're scared of each other, I don't know. But there we go, we're through for P3. Good to put a car between ourselves and Weber. Still 12 laps to go though.
Gap to teammate behind is 14.7 seconds. They're on fresh mediums. They're in 15th. The time last lap was a 1 minute 33.9.
So Ricciardo way down the order. He's going to need a miracle now to get some good points today in this Russian Grand Prix. But yeah, we put a car between ourselves and potentially our championship rival, Lucas Weber. He makes very quick work of the Ferrari and now sets his sights after me. So you know, there's still a long way to go in this race, and I feel like with the pace advantage that Weber has, I don't feel like it's worth fighting this battle, if you know what I mean. I feel like it might be smarter to let him go as opposed to just fighting away and getting ourselves entrenched in a big train of cars. I'm going to see if I can stay with him for as long as I can, really. Yeah, so we'll see what we can manage with this. He's going to have the best pace of anyone in the field, and I'm just going to try and run with him as long as I can. When he catches up to the Williams, I'm hoping that they're going to battle quite a bit, and then that'll invite me into the fight, and I might be able to get back on the podium again. That's going to be the aim, at least. I think Sergio Perez has a massive lead. It'll be quite some task for Weber to try and catch him, but I do feel like he will get Raikkonen, so that will be the aim for us in this race. He goes up the inside already into turn 2. Fortunately for us, Lucas doesn't get through straight away, and now the battle can continue to unravel as we continue on the next lap. Lucas still finding away. He's got DRS and slipstream on the back straight, and I feel like this time he might finally get the position. Lucas is through for P2. Raikkonen drops to P3. And he's on the hard compound tyres as well, so very interesting strategy from the AI. I really thought this was a no-brainer in terms of the strategy, at least it was in Season 1. You would think in Season 2 that there would be some level of tyre wear upgrades on every team at this point, but still they opt for the really safe strategy in order to get to the end of this race. 2 laps left to go in this Grand Prix, and we're running out of time in order to get back on the podium now, where we've got the pace on this guy. He seems to be, I don't know, getting a bit weaker as time goes on. I'm now getting more desperate, looking for, every last millimeter on the race circuit. I've now got 2 warnings for track limits. I went the best part of 20 laps without getting a single warning, but I go and get 2 warnings within 2 laps. So that kind of just displays the level of desperation we've got at this stage of the Grand Prix. Last lap now of this Russian GP, and now Raikkonen is the one with all the pressure on his shoulders as he goes defensive into turn 2. We've got good momentum on him as he kind of killed his, taking a compromised line into turn 2. We got the inside into turn 4, and I think that will be P3 for the taking now in this Russian Grand Prix. Raikkonen with amazing straight line speed comes back at us quite well around the outside. Are you serious? It's the last lap, man. Can you not just sacrifice the whole bloody engine and just get to the end and take some points away from Hamilton? But no. The Renault, as always, has got to be the most disappointing piece of machinery I've had the grace of being a teammate of. At least, yeah, I'm talking about my teammate. I'm not talking about my car. I'm talking about him. But in all that, the disappointment of seeing my teammate go out, I'm not going to lie. That did kind of ruin my momentum and my rhythm through the middle sector. And Raikkonen, with a better straight line speed, has got back through. And we've now lost the podium. So what was looking like a good few seconds there at Renault has just, it's all fallen apart for us in the final lap of the race. Lewis gets extra points, I lose points, and so the championship closes again.
Can't complain about that one. That was an excellent drive.
Hang on. I think we actually might have the lead of the championship, given where everyone finished.
So here they come now, with Williams leading the way to the podium. A hard-fought victory for the team today, and what I'm sure they'll savour. It's Williams, today's winners.
Yeah, actually, I think we're fine. I feel like we have the lead of the championship standings with only a handful of races to go. So, yes, I'm a bit annoyed at what's just happened, but we have beaten Leclerc and we have beaten Lewis Hamilton to the extent I'm not entirely sure. We did have a 6-point lead over Hamilton. Hamilton doesn't even finish in the points. Neither does Bottas. Wow, okay. So that is massive disappointment for Mercedes. Where is their season gone? Lewis was leading the championship in this race and he's gone and not scored any points today. What the hell is going on there? We lead the championship by 6 points now over Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc, unfortunately for him, doesn't manage to topple over Hamilton. So at the moment, it is looking like advantage Renault with HAAS, by the way, closing in the gap. I feel like David was like, what, 40 points behind myself now in the standings, and in the constructors, HAAS are very, very close to overtaking us. So, as the title would suggest in this video, HAAS is now coming. We're now, losing championship rivals to some degree. They're falling out of the championship race, but we're gaining others. So this is very interesting. Mercedes need an upgrade. They need a big upgrade for next race in order to get back in the battle, because at the moment there are just too many teams that are just getting one over them in terms of pace that they're nowhere. They're the third worst team on the no, that's an overreaction. They're the third worst. They've got the third worst chassis. They're not the third worst team, but they are well and truly entrenched in the midfield at the moment. So that is something that they need to work on. But us, for our developments, I'm not really too sure what to go for. I've had to think about this. I've seen your comments, and thinking about next season as well. If we do stay at the team, I feel like these upgrades will be necessary. I feel like I'm going to go for department efficiency. Not only for the engine department, but we're also going to go for department efficiency on the chassis side, because those are two areas of development where we still require a lot of upgrades, a few ultimate upgrades here and there. We will see the benefit of that come through tenfold. So it's annoying that I didn't focus on this earlier, because we could have got a bigger benefit out of this, but I'm going to do it now. Because we still have a long way to go in this championship, a lot of upgrades to make. We won't make any upgrade progress next race. However, we will be chucking on some big boy upgrades to see out the end of this season. I don't believe there will be any regulation change heading into Season 3, so it makes sense to upgrade these areas of the car. So that is what we're going to do. You can see I'm still fiddling around with downforce. I was having a really good think about what I wanted upgrade-wise, but I thought this is better for the long term. This is especially better if we stick with Renault for Season 3. I don't know what I'm going to do next season, but it does leave the door open to stay with this team if I want to. But overall, I feel like this is probably the best decision to go with. It'll make everything cheaper, and we can cram in some development parts for the final few races. So that's what I'm going down. Championship is looking good at the moment. HAAS, we need to keep a stern eye on those guys. They're 40 points behind in the standings, but a couple of wins here and there, and if we get toppled by other teams, and that gap will quickly evaporate. So it's going to be a very exciting finish to this season. of F1 2019 career mode. Hopefully you guys can join me on the journey. Who's going to win this championship? Let me know down in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys for a brand new video very soon.